So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me.
You know, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, you know, he could buy you one also while you're out.
He got me a Lamborghini.
Well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
The episode began with a silence that felt heavier than words. Joe Rogan leaned into his microphone, but instead of launching into one of his usual energetic openings, he paused. His face looked tight, his voice unsteady. Then he said something that made his listeners sit up straight. I've just learned what really happened to Justin Bieber when he was only 15, and it broke me. Rogan, a man known for his toughness and blunt honesty, was visibly shaken. He wasn't talking about a fight or a conspiracy or some strange internet story. He was talking about a young boy, Justin Bieber, who had been pulled into the world of Diddy under the false promise of mentorship. The story began years ago, when Bieber was thrust into fame at an age when most kids are worried about school dances and homework. Instead of a normal childhood, he was suddenly a global sensation. That was when Diddy stepped in, claiming he could guide Bieber through chaos. But the truth, as Rogan revealed, was that Diddy's guidance wasn't really about helping. It was about taking control. Court papers, private notes, and testimony painted a picture of Bieber being pulled into situations where every moment of his life was dictated. Rogan described one document that haunted him, a handwritten note from Bieber begging to go home early. In the letter, the teenager admitted he was overwhelmed, exhausted, and scared by the intensity of what he was experiencing. He just wanted to rest, to be a kid again, if only for a little while. Rogan's voice broke as he read those words out loud. "That's not the voice of a superstar," he said softly. "That's the voice of a child who's trapped."
Oh. How do you not be crazy? And good luck when you're older. You know, Justin Bieber had a post the other day on his Instagram talking about all the drugs that he did when he was younger and how much it fucked him up. And now he's got a relationship with the Lord, and he's got, you know, he's married, and he's trying to be a normal person. Yeah. But he's struggling with the fact that he was insanely famous when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious it is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
Then Rogan turned to video evidence. He spoke of footage recorded at one of Diddy's estates showing Bieber clutching his guitar, being escorted down a hallway after midnight. The timestamp glowed, 3:12 a.m. Bieber's body language told the story. Slouched shoulders, nervous glances. a quiet desperation in his eyes. He wasn't going to perform. He wasn't walking to meet fans. He was simply being shuffled around with no say in what was happening. Rogan froze describing that frame. His voice cracked. That's a kid who doesn't belong there. That's a kid who should have been protected. The podcast episode stretched on as Rogan revealed more layers. Whiteboards with phrases like full immersion weekend, outlined long, exhausting drills, rules that limited Bieber's contact with his family, and schedules that robbed him of sleep. Rogan explained that this wasn't mentorship at all. It was conditioning. It wasn't about helping Bieber grow as an artist, but about breaking down his independence and keeping him under control. As Rogan told the story, his listeners could feel his sadness. He wasn't angry yet, he was heartbroken. This was supposed to be Justin's big chance, he said, shaking his head. Instead, it was a nightmare disguised as an opportunity. His eyes welled up with tears again as he admitted he could barely imagine the loneliness Bieber must have felt. Fame, he explained, looks glamorous from the outside, but when a child is stripped of normal freedoms, it becomes a prison. Rogan reminded everyone that Bieber has spoken in recent years about the struggles he faced during his teenage career, the pressure, the anxiety, the battles with his own mental health. He never named Diddy directly, but when Rogan laid out the evidence, contracts altered in secret, travel permissions granted without parental oversight, surveillance footage at odd hours, it became impossible to deny the connection. Rogan called it the missing puzzle piece that explained why Bieber often looked so lost at the height of his early fame.
So many horrific accusations, though, involving young singers, like children.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's insane.
He makes R. Kelly look like a decent guy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It is crazy. And meanwhile, the guy was like hanging out with Oprah, hanging out with Obama.
Jay-Z,
Everybody.
I'm sure the Clintons were there at some point.
Maybe Bill.
We had seen these videos of Justin Bieber being handed over to him at age 15. Great job. For his weekend with Diddy camp. I mean, we don't know, but it certainly looks like Justin Bieber is still suffering the fallout from whatever happened to him as he was coming up the ranks of the music world. It really doesn't seem worth it. I mean, I'd love to hear more from his camp about what's real, because it's clear he's suffering. We just don't know from what. And what mother out there would give her 15-year-old boy over to a grown man who's in the rap industry for a weekend with Diddy camp without other adult supervision?
And then you have him come to audition for you, right?
Actually, with a few people. My wife at the time.
Right.
It also was Perry Reed, L.A. Reid's first wife.
So you were all sitting in a room somewhere?
We were in a room.
Yeah.
And I showed her the video. And Perry says, "Are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing."
When all these dick pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts? Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of managing he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your cock, or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR,
Hey,
man.
by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher, is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's private parts, man.
What's going on with you guys? Are you working together?
I'm not. I mean, I think that we become friends in a strange way, you know.
Like Robin Big.
Yeah. It's like exactly.
I'm big and you're Robin.
Yeah. No, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, you know, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know.
The saddest moment of all, Rogan admitted, was realizing how preventable this all could have been. There were managers, executives, and guardians who should have stepped in, but instead they stayed silent while Bieber was pushed further into Diddy's grasp. If Justin hadn't survived that pressure, if he hadn't found the strength to rebuild, we'd be telling a very different story today, Rogan said, wiping his eyes. And that thought alone destroys me. But Rogan didn't just dwell on the sadness. He turned it into a call for accountability. He pointed out that while Bieber's story was shocking, it wasn't unique. This is what happens when power goes unchecked, he said firmly. This is what happens when we worship fame instead of protecting people. His plea was clear: if the music industry truly cares about its artists, especially its young stars, then systems must change. The ripple effects began almost instantly. Sponsors distanced themselves from Diddy, music platforms quietly adjusted their content, and conversations spread across social media. Fans demanded answers while Rogan's episode climbed the charts, not because it was entertaining, but because it was honest. For the first time in years, someone with a massive platform was willing to cry openly, to admit heartbreak, and to say what everyone else was too afraid to say. Diddy had crossed a line that can never be excused. As the episode drew to a close, Rogan pledged to donate all proceeds from the show to organizations dedicated to protecting young performers. If this podcast does nothing else, he said quietly, we'll make sure that Bieber's pain wasn't in vain. He left his listeners with one final haunting message. Success should never cost a kid his peace. It should never give someone else the right to take control of his life. And the fact that Diddy was allowed to do this, it's something I'll never stop grieving. The days that followed only intensified the fallout. More documents came forward, more videos surfaced, and with each revelation, Diddy's carefully polished image collapsed further. Yet through it all, Rogan's sadness remained the focal point. He wasn't just exposing a scandal, he was grieving for a boy whose innocence had been stolen by a man who hid behind fame. The weight of that truth still lingers, a reminder that no amount of success can erase the pain of being used.
Months ago, I was really struggling mentally and emotionally, and just there were so many things that were adding up, and I wasn't able to enjoy any of the things that I own.
That stuff's not going to matter to you.
None of the actual things did anything because I was so hurt and I was so confused and I was so sick, and there was all these things, and I was like, I can't, there's like, you just can't, like you said, you can't enjoy the actual physical, tangible, like, things.
The you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully, but yeah, just protecting those moments, because people take for granted encounters and
flown out to Atlanta by a manager. His name's Scooter Braun. Flown out to Atlanta just to meet with him and meet different producers and different people. I was actually going to meet Jermaine Dupri at his studio. And who rolls up? Usher in his Range Rover.
Say this about Justin Bieber. When people hear about him going insane, like, of course he's going insane. You have no idea what it would be like to be him and to be 17 years old. And girls literally trying to break into his house. They're coming down chimneys. They're flying in on parachutes. They're doing anything they can. They just want to be around him. You want him to be
Justin.
normal?
Oh, man, poor guy.
In the days after his emotional episode, Rogan admitted that Bieber's story lingered with him more than most topics ever had. He described lying awake at night, replaying the footage of Bieber walking nervously through that hallway, wondering how many times moments like that happened when no camera was around. That's what really gets to me, Rogan confessed. What we saw was just a fraction, just one small glimpse into what he went through. Imagine all the nights and days that were never recorded, never written down, never seen. The heaviness in his voice revealed a man who wasn't just analyzing a story, but carrying the weight of it on his own shoulders. He urged his listeners never to forget that behind the headlines and contracts, there was a scared 15-year-old boy whose trust had been stolen. And for Rogan, that betrayal was something no apology, no settlement, and no excuse could ever repair.